It's snowing! What a freaking dream. I am a little cold. By little, I mean a lot, because I am obviously wearing a short sleeve dress. But I want to come out here and take a few pictures, and obviously I had to show you guys the snow. We're heading to go see Bestie Alex, so let's head there now.
It's your girl, it's me.
It's been too long.
From Perry.
It's been too long.
How long has it been?
I mean, I think, because we didn't see each other last month, I think they saw you in October last.
October?
Mm-hmm.
Guys.
Isn't that crazy?
A lot has changed.
A lot has changed.
I started reading a little bit of smut again, but it wasn't on purpose. She got me a book. What did you think I got me Somebody's Wife?
Probably, yeah.
And
it's so good though.
I ate it up, and now I'm like kind of wanting to eat a little more smut.
Like Demon's Dream.
Demon's Dream.
I've been trying to convince her to read it because I feel like you'll really love it. Like, you'll be one of those people that's like, I want to read it 4 times.
But I really feel like it's gonna activate.
It probably will.
Nastiness
It probably will.
in me, and I don't want to be activated. I want to be controlled.
I mean, that
by
book.
urban romance.
I mean, that book is so good.
Do they know that? Yeah, they know.
Know what?
Everybody knows.
Know what?
You introduced me to reading.
Oh yeah, I think, I don't know, if new people are here, you might not know, a year ago, we came here for the first time, and Alex was like, you read for fun? You read for, and now she's got a whole booktube, whole bookstagram, like,
y'all,
reads for fun.
I eat them books up because when you're stressed,
yes,
you need to be somebody else for the day.
Yes.
You need new friends. The characters in your books can become your friends.
And I feel like when you read, you just like forget about everything.
Yes, what it's called, escapism.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm so glad we're back together. Why? Ew.
I told her we cannot not go to the bookstore again for a long time because it's just such a vibe since we've been in here. It's like, oh my gosh,
relaxing.
It feels so good.
Yeah, it does.
I
Look
feel
at this cart,
happy.
guys. They have carts since we got here last.
Yes.
Like, this is crazy. You could take this out, shop, and then put it in here.
I'm screaming.
Push the cart.
What books are you showing us?
I don't have any books. I haven't gotten any yet.
She needs to show me because I'm trying to get
Urban
a
romance.
thriller.
You almost said urban.
I'm not trying to get an urban romance. I'm trying to stay saved, y'all. I'm saved. I live for the Lord, but sometimes I slip up and read a little smut. That's my struggle. Okay.
She did read Somebody's Wife and loved it.
I did.
But you're reading a Christian romance like right now that you like, right?
Yeah, The One Who Knows Me by something Mbola. Joan Mbola.
I'll try to put it on the screen.
It's all over Booktop.
Is it good?
It's a Christian romance. I like it so far. It's kind of heavy, so be mindful of that whenever you start reading. But the trigger warning is amazing.
What are the heavy topics?
Depression, suicide. Those are the main. Anxiety.
Dang, that's heavy.
Just a little heavy. Ooh. So just make sure if you're not already feeling all those things this time of year when you go into reading it, because you know it's a holiday season.
Yeah.
You get the winter blues. Nobody ain't got time for that.
I wish they had Gray After Dark because that's like a really good thriller that I finished. Like literally in 24 hours.
I'm gonna look for it. You said it might be on KU.
Yeah, it might be, and that's like I feel like it's very rare for me to read a book in 24 hours.
Well, let me go see. I'm gonna go to Amazon. It's called what?
Gray After Dark.
Gray After Dark.
I think it's Gray. Oh yeah.
That's what I put in there, girl. By Noli Hillary. Oh, it is on Kindle Unlimited. Can I show them?
Yes, yeah. I'll probably put the picture on the screen too. But...
Well, I'm not showing them if you're gonna put the picture on the screen.
Yeah, it's on Kindle Unlimited. I literally read that in 24 hours. And look at the reviews. It's 4.2 and there's like, look how many reviews.
Wow. Okay, I'm downloading that. So maybe I'll read that instead of Demon Slayer.
Read that and then read Demon's Dreams.
Okay, okay. I could do that, but I could do a video for both.
You should.
Ooh. It feels so good to be in here.
I know.
I feel lighter. I feel freer. I feel happier.
Me too. Well, this is like why we first started coming to the bookstore, because like, and then we started doing it every month. And but I was saying this on her channel, like we live 2.5 hours away from each other. Like 2.5 hours is such a long distance.
It is. But we prioritize each other at least once a month, and we meet halfway.
And we've been doing that. I think we've met
for over a year.
Has it over? Oh yeah,
since
we started,
August of last year.
And we've only missed, I think, 2 months in the entire year.
Yeah, but we've been friends since we were like, she say 10.
I think it was 10.
Since we were like 10. Either way, we was real young, and we have been friends since
Locked
then.
in.
People think that we just met on social media. No.
Do they really think that?
Yes, people think that. They message me that. Like, no, we've been friends for a long time.
That's
like,
weird.
I have throwback pictures, honey.
Please don't show them.
Throwbacks.
Please don't. Please don't
Yeah,
show
no. We've been friends, baby. This is not a social media thing. This is a real life thing. If I ended all social media today, we would still be friends.
Thank you. So what are you looking for?
I want a thriller. And I don't want that because that
creepy.
looks like the devil.
It looks so creepy.
But I would like a good, like, psychological thriller.
Ooh.
Not so much like a horror, but like I want to be thinking and being like, oh my gosh, is that
Like
for
what's
real?
gonna happen?
Okay. Like a Freedom McFadden, but on steroids. Oh, I like that. That needs to be on a shirt.
I like that. Like Freedom McFadden, but on steroids. Okay, do you kind of feel like this? I kind of feel like Freedom McFadden reminds me of Colleen Hoover.
But
like,
the psychological thriller version?
Yeah,
yes,
it's like
for sure.
I don't know, I've read so many of her, and I'm like getting to the point where I'm like,
don't do that though.
No,
we'll never tolerate any disrespect. I love how basic her books are.
I like them, but I think that I just have to know.
Readers, though.
Yes, yeah, I have to know what I'm getting into, because I think at first, when I first started reading and I was reading them, I was like, oh yeah, these are good, I'm eating them up. Now I'm like, the character is not making good decisions, like the plot is not plotting, but I don't know.
What's that one I just read by her? The Perfect Son. Did you read that yet? Girl.
You like that one?
Yes. That
Really?
was like right under Housemaid. No,
Really?
never lie, Housemaid, Perfect Son.
Perfect Son, okay.
Because the twist was twisting.
Really? Okay, maybe I'll read that one, and maybe
It
that'll
was
get
a
me
really
back
good
into
twist.
Freedom
At
McFadden.
least that's what I felt. Like you may not feel like that, but I felt like that. But don't disrespect Frida ever again on a public platform.
This is my public.
I don't care
I'm
if it was,
say whatever I want
don't
about Freedom
care.
McFadden.
I don't care if it was Barack Obama's. You're not going to talk about Sister Frida.
And I said that Freedom McFadden is for beginner. No, I'm just kidding.
It actually is.
Yeah, it does. It's not that they're bad. It's just like
they're basic.
They're basic. Yeah, it's like the plot isn't really that crazy, but maybe the Perfect Son is different.
Never Lie was. I thought the plot, but you put me on to Never Lie.
Yes, Never Lie was very good.
But if I read it now, it might hit different.
Yes, yeah.
You're right. So anybody just getting into thrillers, that's perfect for them.
That's why it kind of reminds me of Colleen Hoover, because like when I first read Colleen Hoover, I was like, oh, like it's so sweet, it's so good. Then I read more, I'm like, she what?
Yeah, you right. You're right. That's why I needed to find another author that do psychological thrillers.
Where it's like I can think a little bit more.
Yeah,
and the character isn't as dumb.
And I want the plot to really be a plot.
Yes.
Like I don't even want to smell the plot.
Yes. Well, I feel like also, when I first started reading her books, like I couldn't guess anything, and now it's like the twist is always at the end.
So maybe don't read The Perfect Son.
You don't think? Was the twist at the end, or were there like a few things sprinkled in between?
There were a few things sprinkled in between that was like, okay, wait a minute. And then you'd be like, well, maybe it's this person. Wait a minute. And you'd be like, well, maybe it's this person. And then you just don't know. Like,
okay. So you think I might?
I loved it.
Okay.
But I hadn't read a thriller in a long time.
Okay.
I had only been reading romance. I don't know.
Read
I don't want you to be disappointed.
Grey After Dark and let me know what you think in comparison.
So I'm gonna read Grey After Dark first. I'm gonna pause my Christian romance. Jesus. And then I'm gonna read Grey After Dark, and then I'm gonna read Demon's Train.
Like, I gotta hear you say
I feel bad for well, I'll just skip some parts that are really bad. If I feel like they're really, really bad, I like then I'll turn the page.
You might want to come back to more.
Don't read it yet?
No, read it. Read it. I said you might want to come back to those parts later on.
In the future.
Alex, didn't you say that you read this? Didn't you start it?
Y'all, I started it and it's full of the enemy. Unless you are not trying to live for the Lord and you do not care about trafficking, kidnapping, what is it, stalkers?
Stalking, yeah.
If you don't care about any of that, have at it. But if you have a soul, don't read it.
You didn't like this one? Or you didn't finish it?
I literally just talked about that in the video.
Did you really?
No, I did not like it. I DNF'd it because as a fellow curvy girl, it was very triggering.
Oh, understandably so.
Very triggering. Like just the beginning and the uncle, and it was way too much for me, and it would have me spiral. No, I already deal with that. Like,
no, I get that.
I just don't think it was healthy for people that like. It just, I couldn't.
You think it'd be too triggering?
Yeah, especially if you've heard some of that stuff before.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't recommend it.
Gotcha.
For your mental health.
Yeah.
Not because the book was bad.
But it was triggering, yeah. And I feel like there's some books that like Fast by Millie Belazar. I think
I still haven't read that. Cause I'm too scared.
Someone literally on TikTok the other day, they were like, I started it and I got not even a full chapter in, I DNF'd it. Cause they were like, they're like, it was triggering. It starts out when she's 8 years old.
Oh no, I can't take stuff
and
like
that.
And
you see from age 8 to age 30, and it's like extremely
heavy.
Not triggering for everyone, but for some people
that have experience.
Yes, yeah, and like that's why I guess it's good to know what is triggering and what isn't before you go into a book. But dang, no, it's understandable though.
But I mean, her writing style was nice.
Yeah,
like,
was it the first time you read
the
anything
pace.
first?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just did not. I couldn't
like
get with it.
No, I get
it. Like that was. No. But you know how much I struggle in that area.
Yes, yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend that to anybody that is curvy.
Yeah.
Or anybody that's body image.
Or is triggered by that. Because some people might not be triggered by that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Why? Because I knew a lot of other curvy women that loved it, ate it up. And I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't hear all these hateful things growing up. So
like, that was triggering for you.
Yeah, it just really, it didn't do me good.
Everyone has different tastes in books.
Yeah. And different tastes in what kind of book the boyfriend they like too.
Yes, that part.
Yeah.
Because I want an alpha male. I want a guy who's gonna be like, lay down the red carpet for me. That's what I want. Like I don't want a soft. I read this book. Oh my gosh, it was called. I think it's Guys Something by like Maisie Eddings, and the guy was a little too soft for me. Like the girl was like consoling him most of the book. Which is like fine sometimes. Like I do think it's good that like men are emotional, but it got to a point where like he was very insecure, and so she's like really what?
No, because I'm with you on that.
Yeah, he was very insecure, and she's like, no, you are hot. Like no, you are this, you are that. And I'm like, wait, shouldn't he be telling her? But she was very confident. She was confident in herself, and so she was like building him up. I just was like, I don't.
We like a man that'll like
is confident.
I love a man that'll check me though. If I'm wrong,
yeah, I don't like that.
I like that. I love a man that is like sure enough in like holding me accountable because I'm a very strong woman.
Yeah, so you want someone who's also strong too,
and be like, no, you were wrong.
Yeah,
like,
I like that too. I think I thought when you said check me to be like, I said something like that.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't like that.
That's toxic.
I know. That's what I was like. But I know what you mean.
Not scared to hold me accountable.
Yes, like wait, didn't you say you were gonna do this? Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
yes, because some men they be too scared because they don't want to make you mad.
100%.
If you got a man that's confident who he is and sure of you,
yes,
they're gonna be like, no, follow through.
Yes.
I'm like,
no, I love
that,
baby.
I love it.
The whole book, she was confident and he wasn't confident, and I just was
like, yeah, who wants to deal with that? Because I feel like just dealing with insecure people anyway is hard.
It is.
Not let alone a romantic relationship. And friendships is hard.
Yes.
Any type of relationship where the other person is extremely insecure, you're constantly having to like, all
he was
right.
very secure in the bedroom though. He was secure in the bedroom, but also that was weird because he's like,
a man that's secure in
he's
the
like,
God forgive me.
But also in that book, he was like flipping her upside down, like doing all this kind of stuff, very confident. But I'm like, why can't you be that confident outside the bedroom? What other book boyfriends do you like or not like?
You know what?
You love Luca.
You know what? I don't really fool with book boyfriends no more.
I feel that.
I fool with him because Dr. Ezekiel Green was very nice, but my man does it.
Yeah.
Baby girl.
In
People
every are always
area.
like, who's your favorite book boyfriend? I'm like, why would I need a book boyfriend when I got the real life thing?
Period. Like, I got a brother Isaiah. Like I'm good. I'm
praying,
good. The book boyfriend.
Praying.
The praying. That's what I'm saying. That's a Christian romance book right there, and I'm living that out loud. So I got my book boyfriend.
I
like,
feel that. Yeah.
I'm Gucci,
love
baby.
this for her?
I'm Gucci.
I love this for her.
Yes.
It's also so beautiful to see you in such a healthy relationship too.
Healthy relationships are hard.
Mm-hmm.
Undoing toxic mentalities. Like, oh, okay, look. Y'all finna get a little TMI, but not that bad, girl.
Okay.
This morning, he forgot his wallet. So he was like, "Hey, can you bring my wallet?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I get there, he wanted to kiss me, and I'm like, "What? You know, I know it ain't the style." Yeah. So I'm like dodging because my ex would never kiss me in public or would never kiss me at work. So I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he just was trying to give me a kiss goodbye.
And you gotta break that.
And I was like, oh, he's not ashamed to kiss me. Like, oh wow.
Isn't it crazy what you realize when you're with like a healthy partner that like wasn't normal? Like I remember the person I was with before, Brady. Whenever I would want to like go somewhere, he'd be like, "All right, well you go there, and I'll go to like my place with my friends, and we'll meet up at the end of the night." And I just thought that was normal. And then I remember when I got with Brady, he's like, "Okay, where are you going tonight?" I was like, "Oh, I'm going over to so and so's house." He's like, "Oh, I'll come too." And I'm like, "Well, don't you want to like go to your stuff?" And he's like, "Well, why would we go separate? Like I could go there with you, and then we could also go there."
Yeah.
But it's because the person I was with before didn't want to be seen with me. They wanted to flirt with other girls, and it's like, that wasn't healthy.
Yes, like, and I didn't realize that. I'm like, wow. Or even posted me on his socials.
Yes.
He stayed posting me all over his stuff. His profile picture is me and him. I've never experienced that before.
And that's like so normal.
It's definitely not for me. It was not normal for me.
That's crazy.
So it's like I'm experiencing a lot of stuff. To being loved out loud is different. Like,
and I love that.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like this man is really like obsessed with me. Like, it's weird.
And that's normal. Look at her cheesing.
It's weird. Y'all, I'm in love.
I'm in love.
It's so I'm obsessed.
Oh, hey. I really thought that I would love this book, and I think I thought I would love it because so many people have said that it's like similar to the vibe of Love in Other Words. The book that I'm reading is Slow Dance, and I actually read one book by this author that I did really love when I was younger. I think it's called Eleanor and Park. I read it when I was in like high school or middle school or something. I can't even really remember. I just like read it when it came out, and I was excited to read more from this author because I love that book so much, but this book is just not hitting for me. And I think the reason, like the biggest reason, is because it's written like a book that I would have liked in high school. I don't even know how to describe that. Like there's just a lot of like, they're not doing very much. They're just like talking. They're like making out a lot. Like if I'm on chapter 66, so page like 315, and I can't even really tell you like the things that have physically happened in this book. Like they write a lot of letters because the guy is in the military, which I do think that you would really like if you like reading books about like couples or people in the military. But like it's like supposed to be like a friends to lovers story, but I feel like you don't get the lovers part really, you get the friendship part. And the characters are just like going back and forth being like, I've always cared for you, but like I'm too scared. And it's like, we are dang near finished with the book and you guys are still like, yeah, I just don't know. Like I don't know. The only people that are keeping them apart is themselves. Like they are grown people, literal grown adults. Like Carrie, the main character, is, I'm trying to think of their ages. I can't even think of their ages, but they're both older. Like the female main character, she has kids and her kids are extremely irritating. Also, I don't usually get like annoyed by kids in books, but like I don't like how they talk to their mom. So yeah, I don't know. Like Carrie's kind of irritating, and that's the female main character. And I feel like they should be a lot younger than they are. Like, if this had been set in high school, I like would have believed it. Like, guy goes off to the military, girl is just like beside herself, misses her best friend, take the kids out, you have a high school romance. Like, that's kind of how it feels. You get their relationship over the span of like years. So I kind of just expected them as adults to kind of like get it together, but we're like almost at the end of the book and they're still like, I don't know, going back and forth. But yeah, I am very surprised that I didn't love this one. I think because so many people said that it was like such a great book, and that just goes to show that you never know whether a book's gonna be for you or not. Like, this was like, I think on Amazon's like top reads or whatever. I don't know if it was this year or last year, whenever this book came out. And so many people have loved this book. So many people are like, oh my God, you're gonna be obsessed with it because like you love Love in Other Words. But I don't know, I just not feeling it. But I'm almost finished with this, and then I'm gonna start another book. And the reason I started this book is because you guys said that it was such a great book. I always check Goodreads, and I love to see you guys' reviews, and there's so many of you guys who rated this book 5 stars. So that's what we're gonna be like reading, just like books that you guys have rated 5 stars. The next one I'm gonna read, very, very excited about. I've heard great things about it. So I'm gonna finish this today, and then we'll hop into like another read tomorrow, and then I'll give you guys like my book haul of what I got from the bookstore too. The thing I told myself this year is that I'm not gonna wait until the weather is perfect to go outside. I get the winter blues pretty bad every year, and the one thing that kept me from getting the winter blues last year was getting outside in nature every single day, like no matter the weather, even if it's only like 10 or 15 minutes. Honestly, 10 or 15 minutes like did it for me. And I think it's because, one, it breaks up your day. Like I don't know, you don't feel like you're going straight from like, you know, in your house to your job, back home in your house. Like, you just kind of have like a little bit of a break. And if you're someone who maybe works in an office space and obviously you have like a 9 to 5 where you're like at your job all day, go outside on your lunch, walk around your office, like do something outside, even if it's literally for 10 or 15 minutes. One thing I used to do when I worked in an office space was I would take my lunch outside and I would sit at this little like bench picnic table thing. And like, even if it was like not the nicest weather, it was kind of gloomy, whatever, I don't know what it is. Something about just being outside made me feel a million times better. So I want to do that again this year. I'm gonna try to go sit outside and read for a bit. Probably not for like a super, super long time, but long enough where my lungs can get some just like fresh air. There's literally snow on the ground. So again, it is cold. Like, it is not melted yet. But I really want to embody this like type of person who isn't afraid of the weather, if that makes sense. Like, when we're kids, I feel like our parents would be like, go outside, and we'll be like, okay, and we'll just like go outside for hours. Like, I remember being a kid, getting on my snowsuit, like on a Saturday, playing all day from like sun up to sundown. And like, it would literally get dark and my parents would be like, okay, it's time to come inside. And I know it's cold. Like, I'm in a snowsuit and there's no sun outside. I know it's cold. There was a time I remember I was making like, building like a snow fort with some friends. And I remember I was like in my snowsuit, and while I was building that snow fort, the sun was literally down. And I think my mom was like, all right, time to like come inside, or my dad or something. And I just like was having the time of my life. So I want to do that more, like just get outside and enjoy nature. Cause like, when did I stop doing that? You know? And maybe it's because as kids, there's so many fun things to do outside that like other friends want to do. So it makes it more fun, like building snow forts, sledding, like, you know, just running around outside, even if it's not snowy and it's just like cold. But then as adults, if you were to be like, hey, let's go have like a picnic in the snow, like your friends are gonna be like, you're like unhinged. Like something is going on up there. Like you need to get checked out. And I don't know what happened between childhood and adulthood where we like stopped being able to have fun when it's like rainy or snowy. Like how many times do you jump into puddles when it was raining as a kid? Like it's just fun to like get messy. And I don't know, I was actually talking to someone at the gym, and she was she's a gymnast teacher, and she used to be a gymnast when she was younger. And she was saying as adults, like when she teaches adults gymnastics, she actually has to teach them how to fall, because kids are not afraid to fall. They're not afraid to like mess up. They're not afraid to just like fall and jump right back up. And then like adults that come in and want to like learn gymnastics, or even just like older kids, they struggle with learning it because they're so afraid to fall. And it's like, she has to teach them like, it's okay to fall. Like this is how you fall without hurting yourself. And I just feel like there's something about adulthood that happens. We just get like so rigid and so like stuck in our own like, I don't know, lives that we just like can't get outside of like our chores or like the stuff that we feel like we have to do, that we don't like make times to do the things that we want to do. So anyway, I finished Slow Dance. I'm going to start Rhythms Blues, because this is a book that so many people have been obsessed with. It's only 250 pages, so I feel like I'll finish it super fast. I've never read anything by Kimberly Brown, and I actually have a few books on my TBR of hers, but I haven't really known which one to start. And I actually recently did a book haul where I got another book by her, and I thought about starting that other one first, but then I was looking at you guys' reviews, and so many of you guys rated this 5 stars. Like so many of you guys rated it 5 stars, and I trust your judgment. Like whenever I read Demon's Dream by Elle Kaysen, Keep You to Myself by Brianna Deney, and then Life Was Beautiful by Asia Monique, like all of those like stories are so incredible. But what made me like pick them up was literally you guys' reviews, like being like, yeah, I'm so obsessed with the storyline. It's so good. And yeah, so I want to read this book. I love urban romances. I feel like I have really been reading like all over the place in the best way this year. Historical fictions, urban romance, like contemporary fiction. Like I think after this, I'm going to start contemporary fiction. And obviously I just finished technically it's a contemporary fiction, I think. But then I know some bookstores, they put it in the romance section. In my bookstore, it's in the contemporary fiction section. But like when I was in New York City with the book girls, while I was there, I was looking for Slow Dance, and it was in the romance section. So I think it just depends on the bookstore. But I am really loving how I've been branching out and finding new books to read. It's just making me even more excited to read, because I have like something for every mood. Thrillers, you know, just like I'm all over the place in the best way. So I'm going to read this. I'm really excited to get into it. Again, it's a pretty short read, so I'll feel like I will finish this very, very fast. I really thought that coming out here would be miserable, and not because like I had any reason to think that. I just feel like, I don't know, just the thought of sitting in the cold feels so, or it seems like it would be so uncomfortable. But then I have to remember, like last year, this was one of my favorite things to do each day, is just like get outside. I literally did this every single day last year. If you guys look at my vlogs from last year, there were many times I read outside in the snow. I keep my house at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't really know what that is Celsius, but it is fairly chilly for me. And so like coming outside obviously is not 68 degrees. Like you see the snow on the ground, but I have my gloves on, I have a blanket, I have this scarf. So like every area of my body is covered, which is keeping me warm. I will say I do wish that I had brought like either a hat or my little like, what's it called, like my earmuff. So I'll definitely bring that next time. And then I also have thicker gloves, and I wish that I brought that. But that's really the only thing that's cold right now. Like there's nothing else on my body that is actually cold other than like face, ears, and like the tips of my fingers, because they're not covered up. So I'll definitely know for next time. But if you're seeing me and you're like, I could never do that, like that's way too cold, like, you know, I would hate that, just try it. And you don't even have to read. Like I know that sitting and reading is definitely different. Like you can literally see my breath I think sitting and reading is definitely different than if I were to like walk. So like maybe go on a walk and listen to an audiobook. I just feel like getting outside is what will make you enjoy the winter, because what do we enjoy most about the summer? Like getting out, hang out with our friends, like hiking, like reading outside, like whatever. And then literally we just shut ourselves up inside whenever it is cold. So I want to remind you, it's not as terrible as you think it is. Get outside. It does feel a little silly because like you don't see people just like sitting on a blanket and just like enjoying outside. But I think the more that we do it and like normalize it, the more normal it become. Like people in other countries like literally will like just hike in the snow. And like I think about when I went to like out of town with some friends and we went skiing, we were outside all day and it was so fun. And I was like, that's like one of the last times that I like really enjoyed being outside in the snow with a group of friends. And that was like 2 years ago. So I think the more that we do stuff like this, the more it will become normalized, and maybe we'll have like activities around snow and like being outside. I don't know. And maybe your area is a little bit colder than mine is. Like we're not in the negatives yet, so I definitely will say like once it gets to like -10, -20 degrees Fahrenheit, like I will be inside. But I will say even on those days, I still do like to just like, even if I'm just standing outside, like getting fresh air, there's something about it. Like my parents, whenever we were sick, they were always like, okay, if you're like able to like move around, you need to keep moving, because like your body, like, I mean, obviously if you're down bad and you're like throwing up or something, then like you need to like sit down. But I feel like when you're in that in-between stage of like, you kind of feel like you're coming down with something, but you don't know yet, my parents would always be like, get up and move, like move and sweat. And I know I feel like sometimes we get just like so holed up in the winter in our homes that like we forget that there's so many cool things outside. And I wish that I could have told myself this in my early 20s, especially because I had like the winter blues so bad. I would just like go to work and come home and go to work and come home. And this is such a fun way to break that up. So hopefully you guys can hear me. You guys know how I am about like not having a mic. I literally don't have one. I also have been really enjoying wearing protective styles. You guys saw my hair was like out and curly yesterday, but like it's in a slick back little claw clip today. I don't know if you guys can see that. And it's so cute. And I think I want to do that more this summer instead of having my hair just like out. It also makes it easier for me to do my hair. I don't have to worry as much about it. And whenever it is really, really cold outside, it can kind of dry out my hair too. So that'll keep it like very moisturized. And then whenever I like get my braids and stuff, which I'm probably going to get sometime this week, my hair can continue to stay healthy and strong and hydrated versus like dry and brittle, which sometimes that can happen in the winter. And maybe you're someone who also has hair like that, where it kind of gets like brittle in the winter. Protective styles will literally save you, like put your hair up in a little claw clip and like go about your day, or put it in a braid, like, you know, something like that is very, 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 very easy. I didn't even put any gel on my hair. I don't know if you guys can see that. I feel like the more that I put my hair into protective styles, the more it like becomes accustomed to it and it just kind of lays on its own. And I used to really struggle with like getting my hair to lay, and I would have to put so much gel and stuff on it. And now like I just sprayed like some leave-in conditioner on it when it was like a little bit damp, and then I like, you know, brushed it back, put it in a ponytail, and I put a little like wrap on the top to like lay it, and it's like good to go. So anyway, I'm going to keep reading for a little bit, and I'll give you guys an update whenever I get home. It's time for my book haul with everything that I picked up at Books A Million. I used to have a like membership for Books A Million, and I got rid of it because the Books A Million that we go to is like an hour outside of town from here. I don't think I'll use it, but yesterday I was like, dang, should I get it? Like, my Barnes & Noble membership is so worth it because, like, again, I have a Barnes & Noble in town, but I don't know, the Books A Million's a little iffy because I don't go there as often. You guys know I've been on this little kick of reading historical fiction, and that's actually what I picked up. As a romance girly, it is wild to me, like absolutely wild, that I am like really gravitating towards historical fiction and just like books outside of the romance and thriller genre, because like that's all I've really read. And I've been like reading since I was like 7. Like really got into it and like loved it, but I stopped reading like in high school as much. I was still reading, but not like as much. And then in college, I pretty much stopped reading altogether because I was just like, I don't have time. Then after college, I got back into reading in like 2019, just to like have something to do that was like for myself. And since then, I've really only wanted to read like romance and thrillers. And then in this very last year, like all of 2024, I've been really exploring different genres, and it's made reading so fun. Not that it wasn't fun before, but it's like 10 times more fun. And I think in the past, I always was like, I don't really want to branch out because like if I do like more books, there's no way I'll be able to like read them all. So like I already have a long romance TBR, so just like stick to what I know, you know what I mean? I don't want to like read books I don't like, and like, no, these books I have been just absolutely loving. So I ended up picking up 2 books from Books A Million. The first book I picked up was actually a recommendation from Brady's dad. I was telling him that I like historical fiction books, and obviously Brady and I have been together for like 12 and a half years now, married for 6 and a half of those. And so like I know his parents like really well. So I'm like always like talking to them, like chatting about like life and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I've been really getting into historical fiction like for fun, because like I would read history books or like historical texts and documents and like books and things, but it was never for fun. And I think it's because I would read like memoirs, or I would read just like texts, like, you know, like in school, like you're not really reading for fun. And so finding books that are just like pure fiction, but like historical, so it's like based on a true story, has made like the history really come alive even more. So I was telling him this, and I was like sharing some books that I really love, like The Personal Librarian, because he was like a banker and the CEO of 2 different banks. And so like he's like really fascinated with that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, she was actually the personal librarian of JP Morgan. And like we were talking about that. And then I was saying how like I read Yellow Wife by Sadiko Johnson. Absolutely love that story. And I was like, I want to read just like more historical fiction. And like, I don't know, I love hearing like recommendations. And he was like, oh, like I've read like all these books. Literally, I was like, are you serious? He's read like all Kristen Hanna's books almost. And I was telling him, like, asking him which one I should read next, because I read The Four Winds, and he was like, oh, you should read The Nightingale. So I'm gonna read that. But he was like, you should also read this. And we stan a king who will like read books written by women. I feel like a lot of men, at least that I've like met in my life, just typically read books that are written by men. And like all the book recs that he gave me are like all books written by women, which I was like, bet, I love that. And he said The Rose Code by Kate Quinn was a book that he really loved. And this says, this story is a World War II story involving 3 female code breakers at Bentley Park and the spy they must uncover after the war is over. And it's told from 1840 to 1847. So I just thought that was such an interesting premise, and he was telling me about it and like getting excited. And whenever someone reads a book and gets excited about the book, I immediately want to read it. So not only is this book like looking like a great story, because like from what he's told me about it, it has the perfect floppiness. I don't know if anyone else is like that. Like if I can find a book that is perfectly floppy, it has like the frayed edges or like whatever that's called, the words really big, there's lots of dialogue, like that's everything that I look for. And I think I used to feel like all historical fiction was gonna be boring because there wouldn't be dialogue and it would be like super tiny text, but I'm realizing that's literally not the case. So picked this up, excited to read that. And then I also picked up Ella, and this is by Diane Richards. This is a book that I've been really excited to read. It says a reimagining of the turbulent and triumphant early years of Ella Fitzgerald, one of the greatest singers of the 20th century. So I feel like many of us know the story of Ella Fitzgerald. If you don't, you should definitely look her up. But I'm well aware of her story, but I think that reading her story in a historical fiction novel will like make it come alive even more. And that's what I mean by like reading history books, or not history books, but reading stories from history that I'm well aware of, but reading it in like a different style of writing has made the books feel so much more like, I don't know, I can emotionally connect with them more. And I think it's because it's like written in first person, and like if it's not written in first person, like I'm just feeling the depth of their emotion because the author's pulling it out, versus like in history books, it's like so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, and then so-and-so did this, versus in historical fiction novels, it's like so-and-so felt this, and so-and-so like, you know, I don't know, it's a different vibe. So it's really made me get into a different genre and like really enjoy it. Again, I'm really excited to read her story. This has huge text, like the words are absolutely massive, which I love. Again, I always felt like historical fiction, like the words would be so tiny and it would be boring. But if you're someone who's thinking about getting into historical fiction, the best thing I can tell you is to pick up a book that is like telling a story of something you're already interested in, like maybe a historical figure that you like know about, you want to learn more about, or that you've like already enjoyed their story, maybe you're inspired by them. Pick up a book that like tells their story, because it's literally written, and I almost like want to like go back and be like, honestly, like what were you thinking? Because when I first got back into reading, people be like, oh, like you read, like, oh, you're so like smart, you're so like, you know, like I could never do that. And I'm like, I'm reading smutty romance books, like I'm reading absolute trash, like not trash, but you know what I mean? Like it wasn't something that was like super highly intellectual. And that's how I feel about a lot of historical fiction, is like people have this perception that it's going to be so like highbrow, and I'm sure there is some that is, just like there are some romance books and other books in different genres that like are that vibe. But there are also so many that are literally written as if it's just like a regular person. They just happen to live in like 1940 or the 1800s or whatever. So definitely do not like count out all books that are in different genres. I've been really enjoying them. Again, I am and always will be a romance girly at heart, but I do think that reading historical fiction that has romance in it is also very enjoyable too. So these are the 2 books that I picked up. So glad that I grabbed them, and I'm gonna keep reading Rhythms Blues. I'm really enjoying it so far, and it was really nice to read outside, but now that I have my cup of tea and I'm just like inside and cozy, it's making me even more excited to pull back out my book. I've gotten further into this book and I'm loving it, like eating it up, like every single freaking second of this. So this is about a girl who, her name is Rhythm, and she's dating this guy named Raheem, but he's like a singer, and like his song, like stage name, whatever the heck you call it, is Prince. he has letting the fame get to his head. Like, he's letting it get to his head, and he's getting like cocky, like, you know, everybody wants to be me, like that kind of thing. And he has this girl who is like another singer, and I guess they've been on like songs together or something. And like everyone's like, oh, are they dating? Are they not dating? And instead of being like, no, like I'm with Rhythm, like she's my girlfriend, he's just like letting it ride. He's like letting everyone pretty much assume that they are together, which is wild. And she's like coming to him and being like, hey babe, like can you like tell these people that you're in a committed relationship and have been in one for 3 years? I'm pretty sure it's 3 years. And he's like, oh, it's just like fame, like it's just, you know, the industry, like that's just how it is. Like, and reading this book is actually making me think of my younger self. I used to date this guy who we actually like only dated 9 months. And I'm not saying like only in the sense of like 9 months is nothing, but only because we did a whole like back and forth thing, like a lot of high school and then like part of like college, like my freshman year. And I remember during that like back and forth, I would be like, oh, like people don't know that you're like spoken for. Like, even though we're not together, like we're still kind of like working towards that. So like, can you tell people? And then he was like, no, like, you know, people like they understand, like they know that I'm like taken, even though like very obviously we're like not dating, but like we're kind of, you know, you're in that like talking stage where you're not dating, but you're like kind of like on the way there. So anyway, as I'm reading this book, it is literally taking me back to all of those conversations where he would literally gaslight me and be like, you're being dramatic, you're being insecure. And I remember like right before we broke up, there was this girl who he was in the military, by the way. He was like overseas or whatever. I think he was in like Korea or something at this point. And granted, we like grew up together, so we'd like know each other for a while. So I was like, oh, he's like a good person, whatever. And there was this girl who she was like all over his Facebook, like, oh my God, skating last night was so fun. Thank you so much for like helping me like not fall, and like, you know, that kind of thing. Just like all over his stuff. And at the time, like Instagram wasn't like really big, mostly just like Facebook. And I remember during that time, I was like, who is this girl? And he's like, oh, like it's no one, she's just like a friend, like whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. So then we would like talk on the phone, and I would like hear her in the back sometimes like calling him or like giggling, and I'm like, who is this person? Like she's like everywhere that you turn. And he's like, oh, she's just like a friend. So then I get a call. I kid you not. I get a call from this girl. I've never talked to this girl in my entire life. I get a call from this girl late at night. I think, or maybe it was like early morning, late their night. I don't even remember. And she was like, that's my man, leave him alone. Like, you know, you like, don't like, get your hands off my man kind of thing. And I was so confused. I was like, what is going on? Like, this is my boyfriend. Like, we've been together for, at this point, like 9 months. But like before that, we've been talking for like a year, like known him for years. So I was just like, what is going on? So I go on Facebook, and relationship status completely changed. Like, I think it says like it's complicated or something like that. And I was like, what? So I called my friends. You know how girls are. And they're like doing their detective work, like trying to figure out like, you know, who she is and stuff. And after I got that call, she like said that or like yelled it and like hung up. So anyway, I was like calling him, texting him, and he was like, oh, like it's nothing. She's just like crazy. She's like, oh, if a guy tells you that a girl's crazy, that girl's not crazy. That guy, something's going on with him, because I'm forever a girl's girl. Like, I'm 100% sure that he was telling her that like he was single and then they were like dating or something, and like I was trying to get in on their relationship. And so anyway, I was just like, what is going on? So then I don't hear from this man. I don't hear from this man for I think like 2 weeks, or it was like a week or two, I can't even remember. Don't hear from this man. Now, this person was someone who I was like, oh, like he's a great guy, like, you know, I I just thought that that was like it for me. And granted, I was freaking like 18 years old, so like, or 17, 18. So I mean, it's like you're very young, like you just are very naive, but I just felt like that was it. And I also remember like telling my mom, like, you know, we've known each other for so long, and like, you know, he's just like great, da da da. Again, 17, 18, whatever. Don't hear from this dude for 2 weeks. And so I ended up being like, yeah, obviously this isn't working. I don't know if you've checked out or what, but like obviously this relationship is over, because I've like called you, FaceTimed you, like you're not answering my calls, but you're like posting on Facebook, you're like posting all this stuff everywhere. I'm not kidding. This guy goes, why are you breaking up with me? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've just been busy. Like this whole just like straight gaslighting. And it's literally giving me the vibes of this book, because he brings this girl over to his house, the house that he lives in with Rhythm. And he's like, oh, my studio's here, so like she has to come over. And she's like, no, this girl's disrespectful. Like she's always saying stuff like, you know, call me out my name. Like I do not want her in my house. And he's like, well, this is my house. Like you're living in my house. And she's just like, well, if you want to be with her, then like I'm gonna go stay in a hotel or something. And he's like, oh my God, you're being dramatic. Like you're just like this and that. Women, go with your gut. Like please go with your gut, because now that I think back to when I was younger and like dealing with this dude, I was so like, just like, oh, like whatever he says is gold. Like he's like honest, da da da. And really what it took for me to break up with him was not hearing from him for 2 weeks and seeing him like post all over the internet. Because I was like, oh, well, obviously, because I kept being like, oh, well, maybe he's just like busy or something. And then I'd be like, oh, well, he's like posting and like responding to people's comments and like posting on Snapchat or whatever the heck we had at the time. And it's just taking me back to this. This book is taking me back to that, because I just remember feeling so silly for like I was just like second guessing myself. Also, so he dated him, and there's another guy that I dated who, again, gaslight me to the max. I remember when we broke up, like this was another boyfriend prior to this other guy. I only had 2 boyfriends, but I have had guys that I've like talked to, you know, like that talking stage where you're kind of like, oh, like I don't know if I want to be with him or not, whatever. This guy like I actually dated, granted I was like 16 at the time. And I remember that I had like hung out with him, and then I didn't hang out with him for I think like a week or something, and we were supposed to go to a bonfire together, like with friends, and he showed up there, and I was like literally like getting in the car to go, like literally about to head there. I get a text from him and is like, oh, I don't think that this is working out, like I think we should break up. And so then I get a bunch of texts from people at the bonfire, and they were like, oh, are you okay? Like I heard that you guys broke up. I was like, for one, this is news to me. I just got this text. Like you couldn't wait until I got to the bonfire or told me you wanted to meet up somewhere so you could break up with me in person. Like, so then I was like, why did you like text me this? Like, why didn't you just like call or like ask to see me? I'm literally like heading your way. And at this time I was like more mousy, like not nearly as like confident and stuff as I am now. I was just like, oh, like I wish we could have talked in person. And they were like, literally, I'm not kidding. They were like, you just think that you are like, like, what did they say? They were like, oh, you're like, I don't even remember what they said. They said something along the lines of like, you just want like a good guy to date, so like everyone thinks that you're like good too, and you're just like being so dramatic, like people break up like this all the time. And at the time I was just like, is that true? Like, do people break up like this? Am I like crazy? Am I being dramatic? Am I? And no, I wasn't. No, I was not. And I think now looking back, like now that I'm 32, have an incredible husband, incredible relationship, incredible marriage. And anytime that we like have any kind of disagreement, we are like just so in tune with each other, where like if I even feel that he's like somewhat irritated, whether it's like not even something at me, but just like during his day or whatever, like I am so in tune with him. I'm like, what can I do to like help it like be less stressful? And same for him. Like if he comes home and I'm just like tired, he'll be like, hey, I'll make you some tea, you know, go get in bed, like read your book, like I'll do this or I'll do that, and just like make your night relaxing. And that's how it should be when you're with someone. But also if you voice your concerns, or if you are like upset, or you're like, hey, we're not talking as much, hey, we're not hanging out that much, hey this, hey that, like that person should love you so much that they are like, oh shoot, like I don't want to like make you angry, like I want to make your life better, let me see how I can fix that. And I remember with one of the guys I was with, we would always like go out, and whenever I would go out, he would be like, okay, you go to that party, I'll go to this party, and then we'll like meet up at the end of the night. And I just thought that that was like normal. Like I genuinely, and I think I said that in this vlog, like I genuinely thought that was normal. And sometimes I would be like, oh, like maybe we should like go together. It's like, why would we do that? Like that's like weird. Like you're trying to follow me everywhere. Like, do you not trust me? So then I was like, oh, like am I being weird? Am I being clingy? Am I? And then you realize when you're in a healthy relationship with someone who actually wants to be with you, actually loves you, they're like, oh, we're like this, like don't leave my side, like I want to hang out with you. And obviously like you can have solo dates, you can have time by yourself, like all those things, but that person wants to be with you. And this book is literally like, he shows up at her hotel, because obviously she like leaves, he doesn't even realize she's gone for a full day, and he shows up at her hotel and is like, hey, like come back, like, you know, da, da, da. And he wasn't even like, I'm sorry I did wrong. He was like, you're being dramatic, like you need to get over this, you need to like deal with it, it's just the way things are. And it's literally just making me just straight cringe, because I know that there's so many people who've been in relationships like this that can definitely relate to her. And she is someone who's very strong. Like she's a doctor, she has like her own private practice, like she, along with him like being obviously someone who's like very successful, she is too. And so like she's standing on her own and being like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. So I don't wanna like spoil anything, so I'm gonna kind of leave it there, but she definitely is like putting her foot down, and that's where I'm at right now. And her friend are about to go out, and I'm on chapter 6. So I haven't even gotten that far into this, but I just know I'm gonna love this book. It is like just everything that I needed and more tonight. Like I'm so glad that I started this one. It's time for a reading wrap up of the 2 books that I read in this vlog. So let's start with the one I wasn't obsessed with, because I feel like I don't want to talk about this one nearly as much. I think the reason I didn't enjoy this is it just felt like writing I would have liked when I was in high school and don't really care for now. I also feel like they did a lot of just like making out and a whole lot of nothing. I think I want to rate this book 2 stars, and I know so many of you guys rated this book 5 stars, so it is a little hard for me to rate it that, but I mean, I guess it just goes to show that like everyone has different taste. I do think that if you really enjoy like military stories and like lots of letters and emails, like when they're not necessarily like in person with each other, but they have like correspondence with each other, I feel like you'll like this. To me, like I need to see the banter in person. I need you to like go on dates and like do stuff. Like I feel like a large part of this book was them having conversations, but like not actually doing anything. Like it just, and it was over like a good span of time, and I just expected a little bit more. I do think the love story itself was really sweet, but again, it was not my favorite by far. I've read Eleanor and Park by this same author in high school, and now I'm really interested to see like if I feel differently about that book, or if I just like didn't really care for this one, because I loved that book in high school. But again, my taste is so different than it was then. I also read Rhythms Blues, 4 stars, so freaking good. I ate this book up, and I cannot wait to read more by this author. I think the thing that I love most, well, let's start with a few things I haven't shared already. So one thing I really liked about this book is it really took me back to when I just like was not accepting the love that I so deserved. Like I think sometimes we will accept the love we think we deserve, and a lot of the time we don't think we deserve enough. And like even towards the end when she's kind of like in between these 2 people, it made me think about these 2 guys that I like used to talk to, and I'm sure they're not watching this, but if they are, they're fine people. Like they're great people. And they were guys like I didn't date, but I was like talking to them. One of them was Mercedes and one of them was Artemis. Great guys, fine, whatever. We were like talking in high school, and I remember And if you guys have listened to my podcast, you've probably already heard this story. So if you want to be like tapped into more of my like personal stories and things and how that relates to my life, go over to my podcast. I post every Friday at like 5 in the morning. Lots of like episodes on things I wish I knew in my 20s, things I would have done differently, like what I'm doing now, like things I've learned in my 30s, that kind of thing. But one thing in particular that like really stood out to me with this was like, so her and Channing had this thing, but then her and her ex, Prince, they also had this thing. And so she's kind of like trying to decide who she wants to be with. And obviously she has so much love for Prince. And I wouldn't say it's like a love triangle, but it kind of gives that vibe in a way. And one thing that I really, like, it made me think about a lot was how when I was talking to these two guys, Mercedes and Artemius, both of them were like fine guys. But I remember at the time, I was very confident. I was like, we are not together. I'm not your girlfriend. Like, I am just talking to both of you guys. Like, we're going on dates. We're getting to know each other. And I remember they kept like really pressuring me to be like, who do you want to be with? And like, they would kind of get like, I don't know, just like, it was like a competition almost. And granted, they were friends, so that probably doesn't help. But I was very honest with like, we're not together. And I think a lot of women almost feel like if you start talking to one person, and by talking I mean like going on dates, like they're taking you on a date, then immediately you're off the market. But then like men, it's like a totally different standard. Like if they're taking a girl on dates and like they've only taken them on one date, like 9 times out of 10 they're gonna go take another girl on a date and so on, because you're not like actually together. Like that's not your girlfriend. Like that's how you get to know someone. And I think so often I would like give my heart to people. And I feel like in that specific instance, I was like really trying to get to know someone before I like decide if I want to be with them. Ended up not dating either of them. But I see in this that she is almost kind of embarrassed to like say that she's just talking to someone and like hooking up with someone, and she just like isn't confident in that. And I don't know, it made me think a lot about that. And I really want to encourage you, like if you're someone who's dating, like going on dates with different people, you do not have to immediately like just be like, oh yeah, like I'm theirs, like after one date, you know? Like, and I'm not saying that you need to throw your heart out to everyone, but I do think that like we don't give ourselves enough time to get to know people before we like settle down. So there's that. I also really enjoyed how the guy in this book is taking care of his grandmother who has a like illness, and you see like how caregiving can be so hard. And you guys know that my dad was like a caregiver, or my mom was a caregiver of my dad. And there are many times where he was just like very upset when he went from walking to being like using a walker to a wheelchair. There was literally a time when he was like using a walker. He was not supposed to drive because obviously he's using a walker. He doesn't even really have much mobility in his legs at this point because he'd had so many strokes. And he was like, I'm getting in the car and I'm driving, like I'm going. And we're like, Dad, like you literally can't even drive. But seeing someone losing their ability that they had prior to, you know, their health issues is like sad, and it's hard for them to take on. And I really enjoyed seeing that perspective in this book as well. It just was a really well-rounded book. Also the love story, just like so good. Like the tension between the two, like her being like, I'm a baddie, like, and I know it, like I'm not gonna let someone take away my value of myself. So good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.